everyone, it's Yuto from SudachiRecipes.com, and today I'm gonna show you how to make this delicious spiced pumpkin bread using Japanese kabocha. It's not strictly a Japanese recipe, but it's so good and perfect for autumn. This recipe makes one small loaf, so let's get started. I'm gonna start by preparing my kabocha. This piece is a bit more than what I need, it's about 330 grams. I'm just gonna scoop out the seeds and peel off the skin. Kabocha is a type of Japanese winter squash. It tastes kind of like a cross between a pumpkin and a sweet potato. Some people compare it to a butternut squash too. The skin is quite thick and many people use a knife to peel it, but I find that I waste a lot of the edible parts, so I just use a strong potato peeler. In Japan, we use kabocha for many different kinds of recipes. It's a common ingredient for both sweet and savory dishes. We use it for things like puree, Mont Blanc, tempura and side dishes. Once you're done, check the weight. I recommend between 170 and 240 grams of kabocha for this recipe, depending on how strong you want the pumpkin taste to be. I like to cut off a few pieces to use for tempura. Next, we cut it up into small pieces and put it into a microwavable bowl. I recommend cutting it up pretty small because it will cook faster in the microwave. Make sure you use a sharp knife for this and be careful because raw kabocha is quite hard. I also add half tablespoon of water and then cover it in plastic wrap so that it doesn't dry out and it kind of steams in a bowl. We're gonna microwave this kabocha for 4 minutes on 600 watts. Okay, be careful when removing the plastic wrap because you can get burnt by the steam. I'm just going to use potato masher and make the kabocha into pumpkin puree. You can use a food processor if you want it to be extra smooth, but I find the potato masher does a perfectly good job and it's easier to clean after. Once it looks smooth like this, set it aside and let it cool. In the meantime, I'm going to preheat my oven to 160 degrees Celsius. That's 320 degrees Fahrenheit, and then prepare the other ingredients. So take a large bowl and sift in 140 grams of plain flour. This is just to remove any lumps. Next, add half teaspoon of baking soda, half teaspoon of cinnamon and half teaspoon of ground ginger. You can add a bit of nutmeg and clove if you like extra spice, but I'm keeping it simple. Mix it around until everything is well incorporated. I'm also going to add a pinch of salt and mix that in too. Okay, that's all our dry ingredients ready, so set that aside for later. Next, I've got another bowl and I'm adding 135 grams of light brown sugar and 1 egg. Just whisk them together until the sugar is dissolved. Some people like to use an electric whisk here, and you can if you like, but the thing I like about this recipe is you can make it without getting any equipment out. It's easy to make completely by hand. Okay, once it's smooth like this, add your kabocha. It might still be warm, but as long as you can touch it, that's okay. Just make sure it's not hot, because if it is, it might cook the eggs. Mix it until it's smooth. Japanese kabocha is perfect for things like pumpkin bread and pumpkin pie. It's nicely sweet, has a good pumpkin flavor, and the color is quite a vibrant orange. If you can't find kabocha in your country, of course you can still make this recipe with half a 15-ounce can of pumpkin puree. For me, pumpkin puree is something that's very difficult to find in Japan. Next, fold in the dry ingredients like this. You can just put it all in at once. Just make sure to mix it thoroughly. You shouldn't be able to see any bits of dry flour. Lastly, I'm gonna pour in 70 grams of melted unsalted butter. Some people like to use oil, but I like using butter as it gives it a richer taste. Mix it well until the butter is combined with the mixture. That's done, so let's transfer it to a loaf tin. I'm using a pretty small tin here. It's 18 by 8 centimeters, which is 7 by 3 inches. This size fits about 2 cups of mixture. If you have large loaf tin, you can double or triple the recipe. I've put the ingredients list and loaf tin measurements in the description for you. Just be aware that a bigger loaf needs longer to cook. Finally, I'm gonna sprinkle some sugar over the top. I'm using a type of Japanese sugar called ZARAME. It has large crystals and doesn't melt too easily. This is gonna become crunchy on the top. You can also use DEMERARA sugar instead. And I'm also adding some pumpkin seeds for a bit of extra texture. You could use crushed walnuts or something too if you like. Place it in the oven for 45 minutes to an hour. I like to check it with a toothpick at 45 minutes and then keep checking it every 3 to 5 minutes. It's important not to overcook this pumpkin loaf. We don't want it to be too dry. Okay, this was in the oven for 48 minutes in total. The toothpick doesn't need to be perfectly clean. A few moist crumbs is a good sign. Let it cool on a wire rack for 10 minutes and then remove it from the tin. I recommend eating it warm. If you have leftovers, keep it in an airtight container. It will last for 2 days at room temperature or about a week in the fridge. Alternatively, you could freeze it for up to 3 months. This loaf is delicious toasted and spread with butter or honey. So that's it, delicious spiced pumpkin bread made with Japanese kabocha. If you like baked sweets with a Japanese twist, check out my matcha brownie video next. And if you're interested in Japanese recipes, make sure to subscribe to my channel. Thanks so much for watching, have a great day.